Welcome to
Split the Defense,
where Jordan Webster, Ted Evans, and Craig Pearce talk about the NHL and all things hockey.
Split the Defense
Can be found wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. It's also broadcasted on Amherst Island Radio, 101.3 FM, and online at CJAI.CA.
Welcome to Split the Defense Hockey Podcast, coming to you live on Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram, and broadcasting right here from the Chumley's Kingston Tower of Power on Amherst Island Radio, 101.3 FM, CJAI, and CJAI.CA. All episodes can be found after recording on our YouTube channel and, new this week, on all your favorite podcast streaming apps at Split the Defense. To find us online, just search for Split the Defense on most social apps or at STDP Hockey on X, formerly known as Twitter. I'm Jordan Webster alongside my co-hosts Craig Pearce and jack of all trades Ted Evans, who also runs production for the show, making everything look good and sound on point. And Ted also makes all the music you hear during Split the Defense Hockey Podcast. All right, boys. Now the read-off's done. We got to get into some old news before we can get into some new news, because if we don't say this and I want to talk about it,
then it's done and gone.
Yeah, it's going to be completely irrelevant. So
yeah, get it in.
Maybe this one might hit the circles again, but the NHL and CHL are to make special exception for Shane Wright if he doesn't make the Kraken.
Yeah, so it's got to be the right thing to do.
Well, okay. Well, all right. Let me make my case. So,
sorry,
Shane Wright doesn't have to worry about being sent to the junior anymore. This article says. Seattle Kraken GM Ron Francis told the Seattle Times that Wright had been granted an exemption that would bypass the NHL-CHL player transfer agreement and allow for him to play in the AHL if he doesn't make the team out of training camp. I don't have anything in writing saying I'm good, but it sounds like if we got to that point, it would be okay, Francis said. The NHL-CHL player transfer agreement states that prospects drafted from either the OHL, WHL, QMJHL cannot be reassigned to the AHL until they have either turned 20 years old or played 4 seasons in their leagues. So Wright, the 4th overall selection in 2022, is 5 days short of the age cutoff. So that's, I guess. Yeah. But Jeff Merrick pointed out on Friday's episode of 32 Thoughts podcast that Wright skated in 24 total OHL games last year, which is 1 game short of the 25-game mark that the CHL constitutes as a played season. Technically, rounding that up would still only give Wright 3 full junior campaigns to his name. However, it appears that the NHL and the CHL are counting the 2020-2021 COVID season, which nobody played. So, I don't know if that's right, because the Leafs have a whole bunch of guys in junior that would benefit from playing in the AHL right now that are probably just a few days from, or a month from that age of just, have played 3 seasons and whatever have you. I think that's crappy. Mitch Marner had to go back to junior when, in 2015, after he was drafted, he couldn't come here and play because he didn't do that commitment. He couldn't go to the AHL and develop and be even better than he is today. Why Shane Wright?
Well, I feel like that, Marner was way farther away from being at that game's exception. And they missed a year. I would give exceptions to more players. I agree that I can't come up with any off the top of my head, but I think that it's probably one of my least favorite rules. I know that there's a lot of people that love seeing the Stars come back to the OHL, but it bugs me sometimes. And even when I look at some of the Leafs prospects right now, I think that if they're good enough to play in the AHL, I think they should, because it only makes it easier for them to make the jump to the NHL. The only people that this rule benefits is the people the season ticket holders of junior teams. But I believe that if you wanted to benefit the kids, then you should let them play as high as they can.
Okay, so we all agree it's a silly rule. Now, before Ted, I want to hear what you have to think of it. But before that, you just said you'd like to see all of the guys that could play in the AHL play in the AHL for Toronto. Well, that's my point. A guy like Fraser Minton, who has to go back this year, could totally play in the AHL. Easton Cowan, who looked phenomenal in the preseason game, which is, we'll say Monday night here, which isn't finished at time of recording. Easton Cowan scored a goal. He looks great. He could come, but he's got to go back to junior. So, like, I wonder why. What do you think of that, Ted? Do you think that's fair? Also, one more note is Brant Clark also got the exception for the LA Kings.
Okay. That's another one. Okay. So the thing that came to my mind was the thing, the Kraken had done something back in November of 2022, where they kind of did a loophole thing where they were able to ship him to the AHL for a conditioning stint. And I mean, that was, I remember the articles going, oh, they've loopholed this and they've loopholed that. And it's kind of like, if you can circumvent it and you've got ways to do it, more power to you. Like, go do it. Go do that. Like, especially if you think it's a dumb rule. And,
well, it is a dumb rule, but how come they're making an exception for Shane Wright? Well, you know, he's been getting exceptions his whole life. Didn't he get exceptional status in the OHL?
He did,
They've been making exceptions for this kid since day one.
And that's it.
Yeah.
I think that's what makes it. They're like, you know, we've done this. He's already got that status, you know.
Well, we already pushed him to high school, so he can skip grade 12 and go straight to college now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
I mean, there's no question it has to do with his name. Like, you know, like you said, they did make one other exception, but I think that this only comes up because it is Shane Wright. If this is Easton Cowan or Fraser Minton, they're not doing it. But I think that maybe this, like, Shane Wright has opened the door for one more guy. But
yeah. And that's happened on other years too, when there are these exceptional guys, and it's usually the projected first is this exceptional guy, but there sometimes is another one that kind of fits too. He's within a few days or a week or whatever it is, and yeah, I don't know. Yeah,
I know you guys are more of junior fans than I am, but like, do you? Like, is it something that you guys like seeing come back? Is like when, like, we got to see?
Kingston benefited pretty well from that because they were able to trade Shane Wright for a crap load of picks and stuff. So that was nice. I mean, there's benefits to the junior world, fans, clubs, players,
Kingston
whatever.
Frontenacs, who will be going to see their season home opener next Friday, September 29th at the Leon Center, or whatever it's called here now in Kingston. I think it's still Leon's.
I think it's still Leon's.
The rights are up for it, though, I believe, right now.
Yeah, I believe they are, too. But, yeah, we're going to check that out. Craig, you should buy a ticket. Come with us.
Yeah, sounds good.
So, moving on. I'm going to call this one the Erik Karlsson trade saga.
Okay.
So, the Vancouver Canucks sent Tanner Pearson and a 2025 third-round pick to the Montreal Canadiens in exchange for goaltender Casey DeSmith. And Patrick Alvin said he couldn't guarantee him ice time or a roster spot. He likes the trade to improve the goaltending depth for the Canucks, so that both of those reasons made sense to trade Pearson for DeSmith, who makes similar salaries. I think Pearson makes a little bit more than DeSmith, not too much more though. And then Kent Hughes confirms Tanner Pearson passes physical in Vancouver, and he believes that his strength in the injured wrist and hand is at about 80%. He is a veteran with winning experience and something to pass on to the young group. He is expected to be on the ice tomorrow. And then Nathan Grav on Twitter, you guys know who that is? He points out the Montreal Canadiens are turning out to be huge winners in the Erik Karlsson deal because it actually works out like this now. In for the Montreal Canadiens, a 2025 second from Pittsburgh, a 2025 third from Vancouver, a 2025 fourth from Detroit, Tanner Pearson, Nathan Lagar, and Gustav Lindstrom, and 2.3 million of Petrie's contract. It's gone. And out, they got rid of Mike Hoffman's contract. They lost Rem Pitlick because he's a heck of a player. They dealt Jeff Petrie so he could play full time, and they got rid of Casey DeSmith to Vancouver. The worst part, boys, about all this,
right?
Casey DeSmith was a Habs fan.
Oh, that's tough.
So he got traded from Pittsburgh to Montreal, and then he gets dumped.
I was gonna go with that, like this, that he would be the one guy to benefit, because I think that Vancouver is gonna be better. This might be my ex-Canucks fan coming out in me, but and Demko didn't play good last year, so you know there might be an opening on that in the net for DeSmith, but that does suck if he's a Habs fan. Yeah.
you know what? We will get into this in just a minute, but you being a Canucks fan makes a lot more sense for fantasy last year now. For some of the players he picked.
I'll ask. I need to hear more later.
You'd have to go through your team again, but I'm like, okay, I can see that now. So I think that Montreal made out huge winners. Pittsburgh gets Erik Karlsson, but I think Montreal, Ken Hughes did some magic there and got some things done. Like, that was a great bit of work for him. Second, third, fourth prospect, and a guy who's definitely going to play in the lineup.
Yeah, I think that, like, this shows that Montreal has a good GM, because, like, they're not in a winning window, and, you know, they're doing all that they can, being the third team into a trade, and then dealing anything that they can to, except for, of course, like, all their young stars. But yeah, this just shows that they have a good GM.
Yeah, he was the one who actually constructed the New York Rangers. So, pretty much as they currently are.
Ooh, yeah. Deadly.
So, anyways, moving on. Senators Josh Norris tweaked something during last week's captain skates, according to GM Pierre Dorian. And in an effort to be cautious, Norris is out for right now. Oh, surprise, surprise. He scored 35 goals in 66 games in 21-22, and I have thought Josh Norris was going to be the guy every year, but he is the Ottawa Senators' Nick Robertson, except Nick Robertson never scored 35. This guy, he's just always hurt. He's so good, but he's always hurt. What terrible luck to be good enough to play in the freaking NHL and get hurt all the time.
Yeah,
he's lucky he played enough games to get his contract, because he is sitting on a, you know, at least he's gotten his money. But it sucks being a Band-Aid boy, you know, like, even, like, you know, to this day I get injured all the time and it bothers me. But I feel
that's
like
just from like bending over and picking up something small, not playing it in the NHL, right?
Yeah. Hammer to thumb way too often. But
Ted's poor knees.
And my old man knees.
I'm like, can we play this sport? No, my knees. I'm like, okay, what about golf? No, my shoulder. I'm going to do disc golf. That's
disc
good.
golf. Yeah, low impact.
Ted's taking up disc golf.
Perfect.
Nice.
Yeah, well, getting injured isn't fun. No, it sucks. And I'm not saying Josh Norris isn't good. I'm just saying, holy crap, again. Because we're just expecting this guy to come back and score 35, 40 goals and be healthy through 80 games, 82 games, and tear up the league. But he's just can't seem to stay healthy. Hopefully whatever is ailing him is not that serious and he comes back strong.
It does sound like that he is going to, like, they're saying that he's going to be at least in at the regular season, but hopefully into one of the exhibition games. So
true. Get in before the season gets underway. Yeah. Also, Ottawa, like, just watching them the last 2 days, like, they, knowing Tim Stützle is their top centerman, like, if they get Norris on the second line, that's going to be big for them. So hopefully, for their sake, that they can get him healthy. Yeah, big time.
Let's do a quick check of the Leafs score real quick. How are they doing?
Okay. Yeah, as we're recording, they're playing.
Third period, 9 minutes and 49 seconds left, 3-2 for the Senators. Boo.
Yeah.
I take no stock in it.
Yeah, preseason, you can't, right? It's nice to get a look at the guys and the teams, and certain guys you might not get a look at all through the season. But to take it in like, oh no, my team lost. It's not really your team.
No, it's a half squad with a bunch of kids. Yeah. And the kids usually look better in these games because, you know, the guys who are already know they're going to make it, they're trying to actually do it properly, where other people are just wheeling. Maybe they're also playing a little more cautious because they know these games don't matter as much, right? They're just trying to get back in the groove of things. So I think that's probably what's going on here. There's no way this happens all year again against the Ottawa Senators. There's no way again, man. Like, you know, it's great because the tickets are cheaper to go watch a game for Toronto and Ottawa in Ottawa. But if you go, which I'm pretty sure I saw you there, Craig, at an Ottawa
Yeah,
Center.
we saw each other.
That's awesome. I totally forgot about that. Yeah, the one Toronto Maple Leafs game I ever went to, I turned around. Is that Craig?
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm
So
getting text
I took a
messages.
picture of him and then I sent it to him on Messenger and he's like, what the heck?
Yeah.
Weird.
Anyways, I was like, yeah, well, anyways,
That's good.
every time you go to Ottawa to watch the Leafs, they always get pounded. It sucks. It's terrible, horrible. So
Tough.
Leafs better pick it up this year. We need those wins because Ottawa ain't going to be messing around, and I think they're going to be in a playoff spot.
Yeah, I agree, actually. I was kind of thinking about that watching them, that like teams like Boston, Detroit, like Detroit's trying to get into the playoffs this year, and Buffalo, like it's going to be tough, you know. Our division's swapping around, I think. Hopefully the Leafs can stay where they are up on top, but you can see that teams are aging and some other teams are growing into their prime, so.
Oh, yeah, there's been a big shift in power in the Atlantic Division and a big shift in power in Boston.
Yeah.
The Bruins, they have a new captain we didn't talk about. Brad Marchand was named captain of the Boston Bruins,
Yeah.
and he is the franchise's 27th captain.
Wow. Congrats, Brad.
So he says, what?
No, go on. I got a good Brad Marchand story. Tell the people what he said.
He says, you're not just building something for today and tomorrow. We're trying to build something for the next group of guys to continue to lead on. So we're building a culture, and I want it to stay and to remain the same. I have a lot of pride in that. But I asked, does Brad have what it takes to continue to enforce the culture that's been so apparent in the Bruins locker room for over a decade now?
Yeah.
You think Brad's going to be the guy to do it? You guys think Brad will be a great captain for Boston?
I heard talk of that, yeah, from them, and when Bergeron was retiring and that was all coming out, that Brad would be kind of an obvious next step, a guy that they have been kind of, you know, pushing towards that role when they knew the inevitable would happen and Patrice would hang him up and they'd still have Brad in the room, who's already a talkative guy, as we can imagine. That's my guess. I would say, yeah, he's the guy.
Good,
I
Craig.
think that, well, yeah, like he's worn the A for a while, right? And I think that it's been said that like Bergeron's kind of been a quiet leader and Marchand's like the raw guy. And so I think that, yeah, to be honest, like Marchand's the guy I picture when I think of Boston Bruins, you know,
Yeah.
Since Chara left, like Bergeron was their best player, obviously, but you know, like whenever I see the Bruins logo, I think of Brad Marchand.
He's under your skin.
Yeah.
So my Brad Marchand story quickly before we move on. My dad went moose hunting with a bunch of his friends out in Newfoundland, and they were chatting, and the guy said, yeah, we just got a phone call from Brad Marchand the other week, who's booking a trip to this same camp with his family. So it's a nice place my dad was at, that Brad Marchand, the guy had just talked to Brad on the phone like a few days prior.
Wow.
Yeah.
Cool.
Oh,
Yeah,
that is
cool spot. Yeah.
Wow.
He's a moose hunter, and yeah, they said he's been around a few times there.
Oh,
Out in
that's
Newfoundland.
cool.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Out in
sure.
Newfoundland. So, the NHL training camps have opened, and there's still 5 restricted free agents that remain unsigned. Trevor Zegras is the top one that I wanted to talk about.
Okay.
So Renaud Lavoie said, he's from TVA Sports NHL Network. He said that they're offering $3 million to $4 million annual average value for Zegras. Do you think that's his value right now?
It's got to be a bridge thing, right? I think he's more valuable than that. I think.
yeah,
Like big time.
He's definitely more valuable than that.
Yeah.
I could see him. Yeah, that might be a 1-year deal, a 2-year deal, but there's no way. I mean,
No,
he's
3-4,
definitely
no.
He's talked about more because of his around the net goal, whatever they call that goal
Michigan.
now. But yeah, that's it. But he's not quite at like, you know, stud level to lead a team, but I mean, he's right under that.
Yeah, I saw a stat. It was like the amount of players, and it listed all the players that had the amount of points and stats Zegras does at this point in his career at that age, and I don't have the list in front of me, but it was only a short list of pretty good players that he's right in the same wheelhouse as at the age that he's at. So kind of, yeah, I think he's worth way more than that.
Well, the Ducks are playing games right now, and they have time because Jamie Drysdale also doesn't have a contract.
Jeez. Yeah.
There's nothing out on what they're going to pay him. But both Trevor Zegras and Jamie Drysdale for the Anaheim Ducks don't have a contract right now. And that's just wild to me that two of your young stars don't have contract, and then they're offering so little. It must be, you know what? He must be, you know how it works, right? So he's asking 3 to 4, or they're asking 3 to 4. He's probably asking like 8, right?
Yeah.
So they're
then
just
they
trying
meet
to
in the
find middle.
like 5.5. That's about right for a couple years, right? 5.5, 6 maybe for Zegras for these couple of years. Maybe like the Willie Nylander deal, like 7, right?
Yeah. Like,
I think you could do the Willie Nylander deal because it's a few years on now. The cap's a bit higher. I don't think he's as good as Willie, but
is that 7 by 6? Is that what Willie did?
Yeah. I don't want them to do what they did to Willie, where he didn't play until the very last second, and that year was basically a throwaway year for him. You know, so like you got to think about the player's development more than, especially with Anaheim, like. They're not at a cap crunch, and they're not going to be for a while. So
they have
why
like
are
some
they,
of the most space.
Why
in
are
the
they
league.
playing hardball?
Yeah, don't play hardball when it's like your future of your franchise.
Yeah. They're just, I don't know, they're mad about the Bedard thing or something still. They wanted first.
You know
If
who
you
is?
were in that lottery, you better be mad because that kid's going to be unreal.
Mad or disappointed?
Just like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's worse. You know, it's when your parents like, I'm not even mad at you. I'm just disappointed. It's like,
Yeah. You got to think that the Leafs just missed out on McDavid, you know, but they got Matthews the next year. So there's hope.
yeah,
Yep.
well, I mean, if I could have a trade.
Yeah, well, I know that, but, you know, there's
I
consolation
love
prizes
Matthews.
everywhere.
Don't get me wrong. Like, I'm Matthews through and through. I'm on the Matthews train. He just signed again. I was super stoked about it, but like,
Do you want the
I
best
mean,
player
for
in the world?
McDavid, yeah. Or do you want the best? Yeah. Do you want like your favorite player you have emotional attachments to that's been great, or do you want the best player in the world that scores 150 points a year?
I don't know if you guys have gotten into it, but I'd like to talk about Bedard at some point because like just where you guys think he sits. So
We will, and actually we're going to because we have a guest coming up. What date's that, Ted?
That's going to be this Thursday. Our next show, we're going to have Al Babcock on, who is a guy, he knows a lot about hockey. He's a comedian and getting into hockey podcasting as well. A hockey comedy podcast, which sounds interesting. He's getting help from Steve Dangle, some advice on his podcast right now. And he does, like I said, comedy, but he is a Chicago fan. So we got to talk to him about Bedard for sure.
perfect.
Yeah, I believe his company's AB1. This is his brand, AB1 Comedy, right?
Yeah.
Right out of here in Kingston, Ontario, for all you Amherst Island listeners.
Yeah, local guy.
And so I've been pushing the Bedard stuff because I didn't want to talk it out before we got to him. So we talked a little bit of Bedard a couple of weeks ago.
For sure.
And then we got Al, and we decided we just wait. So we definitely will, Craig. I'll get to you, I promise.
I'm just glad I didn't miss it. That's all.
No, we've said all the things you'd expect. We're excited, can't wait, all this stuff. You know, the hat trick in the opening, his first,
Right.
you know, whatever.
Yeah.
We've said all the expected stuff, and we'll get into more for sure.
So one team that's this is just notable because of the team it is and the situation they're in. One team that doesn't have a RFA signed is Shane Pinto of the Ottawa Senators, because for the first time in my notable memory, they are capped out.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, they're going to have to make
Makes
a trade
sense.
if they want to sign him. Once they did the Tarasenko thing, that was, about it. Shane Pinto's an interesting one to me because he's not quite as flashy as some of the other names out there. Like, it's hard for me to think of what number he comes in at, but definitely once I hope that they get that done, and then that's just another one that's just down the middle. They're going to be so strong.
Yeah, those Ottawa Senators. Jan Jenik, he signed, and Tim Burney, never heard of him, plays for the Blue Jackets. Moving on. Lightning captain Steven Stamkos last week. Did you guys hear this one? Said that he's been disappointed with the team that they didn't discuss with him a contract extension over the summer. And he notably went off in a clip, which I did not bring for the show.
Okay.
But it is going to be wild what goes on there. Julian Breezeball came back, actually, and he even said, they covered it on STP, Steve Dangle podcast. He told the cameras that they're not going to talk about it until the end of the season.
This just shouts that Steven Stamkos is coming home. I can't wait for him to see him in our Leafs blue instead of the same blue but Tampa. But this boy's coming home finally. You know, we did this all, you know, what was it, 5 years ago? And we're doing it all again. I can't wait for him to be on our team.
Oh, that's phenomenal. All right, Craig, thank you very much for that. He went off. He had like a 30-second rant, okay? And I thought that was going off. And he just explained that, you know, he said that he wanted it done. It didn't happen. And he's disappointed. Summarized real quick. Julian Breezeball took 2.5 minutes, was something that was pointed out on the Steve Dangle podcast, to say his piece about it. One question, same answer for 2.5 minutes. He took a long time to dance around that one.
Really?
Have you guys ever heard of being mediated?
Yeah.
He's trying to media the media.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it. Yeah. He danced around
Look
it.
at that.
Basically, he's just trying to get Stammer as low as possible, right? Like,
Should be our hashtag, media the media.
yeah.
Can't media the media.
That's right.
That's STDP's first hashtag.
Yeah, I think that was our first titled episode that has like a title in the thumbnail. So.
Can't media the media. Yeah, I think it's wild because like they won 2 cups there. He should just have a deal done. Like, I mean, what's he looking for money? I don't know how they must really be lowballing him, honestly, because like he's the captain. He's been there his whole career. He's won 2 cups with them. He didn't know. He wasn't there in 2002, right? Or whenever they won the last one, way back. No,
I don't think so. But there's no offer.
He was drafted in 2009 or something like that.
Yeah, that's kind of the point, though, is that he just wants to talk, and they're not. Like, there's been zero discussion. There's no offer at all. So yeah, like it's.
And I'm saying it should be done. It's not like you're like, oh, and you're like, it's just weird. I'm like, I don't even care about that. This should be done. Long done. This guy deserves it. He won 2 cups for your franchise, been there his whole career, done everything you've needed him to. He went out there on a broken leg and scored a goal in the Stanley Cup playoffs. He should have a contract.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. If he wants a contract, he's the captain. He should have a contract.
It's Stammer. Yeah. In Tampa Bay. Like, obviously, yeah.
Yeah, you know, whatever the talking and it's too bad they didn't talk. It's beyond that. So one question I wanted to have with you guys, but actually, you know what? We are in the middle of the episode. So everybody, we will come back with questions, and we got a fantasy segment, Fantasy NHL.
Ooh,
and we will talk about a whole bunch of stuff, and Craig is going to gear us up for that. So we will check y'all out in just a few minutes. So bear with us, and we'll be back on Split the Defense Hockey Podcast here, broadcasting from the Chumleys Kingston Tower of Power on Amherst Radio, 101.3 FM, CJAI, CJAI.CA. Whew. Right back. Welcome back. Coming to you live, Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. Broadcasting right here from the Chumleys Kingston Tower of Power on Amherst Island Radio, 101.3 FM, CJAI and CJAI.CA. My co-hosts, Craig Pearce, Ted Evans, Jordan Webster, and we are going to start with the fantasy. So let's get right into fantasy. NHL. Actually, quick update,
about
boys.
hockey.
Quick update. End of regulation, 3-3. Senators, Leafs.
Oh, wow.
They failed. It didn't even look who scored. But looks like we got Cowan's got one, Blandisi's got one, and our buddy Mitch Marner.
Nice. Mitchie.
Should have guessed.
Mitch just got a goal. That's good. And Bertuzzi's got an assist. Man, Bertuzzi. Oh, we'll get into that.
Oh,
Anyways.
yeah, we'll get into it.
Anyways, the fantasy segment. So, Craig, why don't you lead us?
So, I mean, so Jordan and I, we're in a fantasy league together. This is Jordan's second year. How'd it go last year, Jordan?
I came second.
Yeah. who beat you?
Craig.
Yeah.
2 years in a row. Listen,
that's who you were complaining about the whole
exactly.
year.
Yeah.
The two people that have ever beat me in fantasy are right here.
Yeah, I beat him the year before.
Oh, beautiful.
Or maybe right
So,
here.
Yeah.
Yeah, whichever the layout.
Yeah, whichever directions they are. but-
Anyways, the two
Yeah.
people that have beat me and I came second to both years are right here. And you know what? We were talking about when I picked Connor McDavid, and when I didn't, I picked Austin Matthews first overall instead. When I picked Connor McDavid, Ted beat me. So,
Right.
like, it didn't
Yeah.
matter. I didn't pick him. I picked Austin Matthews, and I was, like, I went through the playoffs and won, got to the finals against you, and you beat me anyways. It's like, I don't know if I'd have won if I had Connor McDavid. Like,
The good thing is that I didn't have Connor McDavid, so you don't have to like think that you made the wrong decision because that guy got beat out in like the quarterfinals. So
yeah, exactly. You just got to get in.
Yep. That's the part of it.
See, I had the 10th, like the last pick that year that I won. My first overall pick, the best guy left was Crosby. It was my first pick. I obviously wanted, which isn't a bad pick, but I wanted McKinnon. Obviously, or McCarr.
Right.
Any
And those guys were gone.
They're all gone.
Yeah. I mean, McCarr might be a guy that you could get at any point in the first round if you really wanted him, but yeah. I mean, fantasy's kind of drifted to a part where you either want to have the top few picks or you want to have one of the last few picks. Because there is a bit of a drop off once it comes to the elite players in the league, and that drop off, if people aren't aware, when you draft in fantasy, you'd go say there's 10 teams, you go 1 to 10, and then you go 10 to 1. It's called a snake draft, and so if you're pick 10, you get the 10th and 11th best player in the league, and that can be a lot of the time better than being even first if McDavid has an off game, then
Or sixth. I mean, it's definitely better than sixth. Right?
Yeah, actually, six is about as bad as it can get.
Yeah.
You're gonna miss your second pick is gonna miss out on that top echelon of teams. Yeah,
For sure.
Both years I played fantasy, I won the lottery.
Yeah. First,
It's crazy. It's
I
just
know,
nuts.
first pick.
I can't believe it.
I've never picked first.
I can't believe it.
same.
So, you have strategies. So why don't you tell me about your sleepers, breakouts, and busts? What's that all about?
Yeah, so I mean, I think this is basically how I do my entire fantasy team. Is like you kind of have to go through of where it's not you can definitely lose your draft or your league in the first couple picks, but you're not going to win it in the first couple picks. You're going to win it when you get to pick 5 to 10. Is basically how I look at it. You can in the first 5 picks, you can decide which direction your team's going to go in based on who's available, and you got to kind of think about one pick to the next. It might change who you're going to pick, but when you get to the 5 to 10 range, that's where it's kind of less known commodities, and so that's kind of where you win the league. And so
Rounds 5 to 10, you mean?
Yeah. That's kind of where you're getting into the rank of 50 to 100, or if you're in a 12 team league, then it could get, it's a bit higher, but generally that's kind of where you are trying to find either these breakout guys, and that's where all of the busts lie as well. There's not very many in the top of the draft, so I've also, you're always going to miss out on something, your draft's not going to go perfectly. And so I think it was my second pick I used on Kyle Connor last year, and Winnipeg just sucked. And so, it's kind of tough when he's definitely an elite player, but he just didn't pan out like I wanted. But luckily I saw that Braden Point was ranked 100, and I kind of saw that as, way undervalued. And that's a guy, I think he was ranked in the top 20 when it came to the end of the league. And so Braden Point is also a guy that I'm not going to touch this year because he scored, I think it was 51 goals, 52. So like that guy's way overvalued now this year. So, year to year, you have favorites and then you got to drop them.
I got lucky the year Chris Kreider popped off. I just randomly drafted him. I was like, you should get good fantasy points. Hits, scores, should be good. Plays top 6. He scored like 50 goals that year. It was nuts. So,
yeah. And that's a guy who last year was a bust.
And that's why I didn't pick him. Yeah, I was like, good. Yeah. I'm not going to do that.
Exactly.
I think that it was a one-off.
Yeah, he's lightning going to strike twice? No.
Yeah.
Right. I think you could pick Timo Meier and Chris Kreider like basically the same pick last year. And obviously there was a winner there. Timo Meier is just a beast when it comes to fantasy. So,
yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Ted has a team named after him. Finding Timo. Right?
Oh, nice. That's a good one.
Yeah.
I always appreciate a good fantasy league fantasy name,
Yeah. Well, I already took the podcast name first, so you're SOL there.
Yeah. Well, I've been running with the same team name for a while.
CP team.
Yeah, CP team.
With the trophy.
And now I have 2 trophies beside my name.
The trophies. Yeah.
Wow.
Bugger. Yeah, runs the league. So if you can you give me one person you think is going to be a sleeper this year?
Well, I guess we'll do this. Yep. You
don't want to give it away to him, do you?
Yeah. Well, we were kind of talking about this. I'm willing to give up my secrets. So
okay.
One like that.
What if he drafts ahead of me? Like then it's none of this is going to matter.
Then it's moot. You're right.
So it doesn't matter.
You're always going to pick ahead of me at some point.
In a snake draft. Yeah.
Oh, well, help me out here, Craig. Come on.
Yeah, I think that someone who it depends where he ends up, and that's the thing with each draft is it goes each draft players have their favorite NHL players, right? And so, but I think Tim Stützle's a guy who's gonna continue what he did last year. Last year was his breakout year, and I think he's still that player, and. Stop talking about the Ottawa Senators though. Elias Pettersson too. There's Elias Pettersson's. Yeah. Oh God. I'm not a Canucks fan, okay, but he's good. I think that people weren't talking about him because the Canucks weren't good last year, but he was, and definitely after the coaching change, they put him on absolutely as much power play time as possible. He's the trigger guy, so he's a goal scorer, and I just think that he's gonna look at he'll be in kind of the breakout group as well. Not that he hasn't broken out already, but just that he's gonna continue what he's been doing.
Okay, so that was breakouts. Who was our sleeper?
Well, this is a real giveaway, and I hope that Shane from our fantasy league does not listen to this podcast. But Barkov is kind of like where Braden Point was.
That is a real sleeper. That's honestly true. I took him one year. He's a great fantasy player. You didn't have to tell me that.
Yeah, he was drafted in the 2nd round last year.
I know.
This year you can get him in the 6th, 7th round.
You think? And it all depends on your league too, though, right? Guys who know what. Last year, I got 1st overall, so I didn't get until the end of the 2nd round, and I wanted Barkov as my next pick, but I didn't get him.
Yeah. When it comes to centers, though, it's so deep. It's the deepest position in fantasy, and so there's just a lot of better centermen, and at least centermen that produced last year and are predicted to do the same thing this year. But Barkov could be a 100-point player. I think last year injury got to him, and I think that this year is going to be I think Florida is going to be a good team, and Barkov is kind of going to lead them as well as Matthew Tkachuk. But Barkov is the real leader on that team.
Wow. Yeah. So you have something here that says positional scarcity. What the heck does that mean?
So just like I was saying that Barkov is a late pick because center is so deep, right wing and defense are by far have the least amount of star players. If you go through a mock draft that you can on Yahoo, once you kind of pass the top 20 players, right wingers is not a great position, you know? So like you have to really get one of those top players. Like Rantanen's a great one. If you're
William
looking
Nylander.
at that, William, I'd rather
He's a
Rantanen,
great
but
fantasy player.
I'd
rather Randy. Okay, well,
but yes, yeah. William Nylander is another one. Kind of blanking. Oh, Matthew Tkachuk is a guy who's going to be dual eligible. So, you know, he can be left wing or right wing.
Oh, I love those guys in fantasy. Where it's left wing, right wing.
Yeah.
Thank God.
But left wing's a position where there's players for days. He'll be in the 9th round. You couldn't believe that guy's still available. So
that's very true.
Defense too. Like you got to look at how many defense slots you have. But if you have 4, you got to like those players are going to be playing. You know, so if you that's where like drafting Makar. If you can get him in the 2nd round, that's a bit of a steal because because
that
like he's gonna
for sure.
He has potential to have 100 points, you know, and so he's looking at probably a late first, but you know that's a player where there's going to be like only a handful of defensemen that can produce like that. Yeah. So that's more valuable than having a forward that's going to get 10 more points than the next draft position after him. So. Yeah.
It's true.
But he's more valuable in a points league than a cats league.
And I think that in a categories league, you can get defensemen that can cover categories, like you did with Trouba last year. And there's no way that Trouba is going to be rostered in a points league, but he's so valuable in a categories league because he's going to cover those categories. So that's where defensemen become more valuable, is depending on your league settings. But if you are in a points league, you better draft Makar in the 1st round.
Yeah. Did you have Luke Shen last year?
I think at point my bottom 3 or 4 positions are so fluid. Like he was probably on my team at some point in late last year when he was trying to prove something in Toronto.
I think I had him when he was right before he must have had him before that because I remember having him when he went from Vancouver to Toronto, and I only got him because whoever had him in our league last year before that, Luke Shen was the stud for hits. He was leading the league. Like he was just hitting everything that walked. So
that's where. Go ahead. I was just gonna say that's where like based on the rest of your team, where you might need someone who's just for hitting, you know, like. But that's another topic.
Yeah, that's fair. So you have another note here. Picking a team that you like. Why do you have to pick a team that you like? Shouldn't you pick the best team?
I mean, you're gonna watch these guys all year, you know? Like, I can't stand... Like, I had Brad Marchand on my team for about a week last year. I couldn't stand it. Like, I traded him for such low value. I kind of forget what I got, but... there's just certain players that like make sure that you're drafting guys that you like because you got to look at their face all year. So like Tony DeAngelo, I just don't like that guy as a person, so I'm not going to draft him. You know, he might be a decent fantasy player, but he won't be on my team. You know,
that's funny.
Fair.
Yeah.
What's a goalie debate? What debate is there about goalies?
So have you guys heard of the no G strategy?
Yeah, right here.
That's me. That's I'm an OG strategy. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So
we were in a points only league, so
yeah.
Just like I don't play goalies. Like
yeah. I mean, I'm in a points league, and goalies are so valuable. I normally have 4 or 5 on my team, but it's I mean, where you are in a categories league, you got to look at how many categories that they're going to cover, but there's not a huge difference between, you know, Igor Shesterkin and the 10th goalie drafted, you know? So if you're taking, like, there's a lot of people that just don't want to worry about goalie, and so they'll maybe even take 2 of those stud players. You know, maybe, you know, you get Shesterkin and Vasilevsky. But there's always going to be, like, when Georgiev, you know, he put up better stats than well, it depends on your league, but those guys. And you could have got Georgiev in the 5th or 6th round, you know.
I got him last year.
Yeah. Do you remember where you drafted him?
Late. He was the second
late.
goalie I picked. The first goalie I picked was Ilya Samsonov. I wanted Matt Murray,
Right.
but he was already gone. I think I picked Ilya Samsonov in the 5th or the 6th. I think like he was late. He was like an 8th or 9th round, maybe. Something
And
like
that's
that.
and I think, you know, so that's an example of where your second drafted goalie was better than your first.
Actually, they both performed very valuably, both of them. I'm pretty sure they were equal, pretty close to equal in rank. You have to check them last year, but they were.
Well, Samsonov was injured for some of the year, and then he had to split time with Matt Murray. You know, like
no, Matt Murray was hurt a
Georgiev,
lot.
I think, was solid all year. But either way, you kind of have to decide how much stock you want to put into goalies, because I'm a guy that, like, I'm never going to take one of those top goalies. I'd rather have, you know, if I have to decide between Kirill Kaprizov and Shesterkin, that's kind of the choice you have to make. That
was,
I would definitely like a player.
Yeah, that was my whole mentality. I was watching guys draft goalies and I'm going, okay, well, this guy's still available. What are you going to try and get him later? Like, no, I'm taking him now because you went and took a goalie. Like, I'll get my goalies later and worry about it if I want to. And if I don't want to play them that night, I just won't play them. And because they'll probably get lit up anyways and take 12 points off my awesome night. So,
Yeah.
you know.
There's also a lot of backup goalies that, you know, you can stream
Come in.
in goalies and you might even end up with better stats. Sometimes the team shows up for a backup goalie.
So true.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that was awesome. Thanks, Craig. We are going to start doing fantasy segments and news to everybody right now. A little bit of what do you call this? Housekeeping. We're going to start doing bets. So what we will do is we will start to lock in picks for the next day's games after we do recordings, and we will try and parlay them all together. I will place the bet, and then we'll see what we win. And maybe some of our listeners can tail and make some money. We're going to see if we can make some bank here, people.
Here we go.
Nice. Fun the podcast.
Yeah.
So we're running out of time here, but I really want to talk to Ted about the Avs preseason.
Yeah.
The Avs and the Leafs are both in preseason hockey right now.
Yes.
And they had a few guys, not all the guys, but I can name off a few notable players. Justice and Noonan, Jack Johnson, Brad Hunt, Ross Colton, Frederick Olafson's a guy, Miles Wood. Then it goes down to Thomas Tatar.
Yeah.
Joel Kiviranta.
Yoel.
And if he was Yoel Kiviranta. And you know what? If they had just anti-Ranta, they would have all three versions of the Pokemon.
I love that.
Because it would be, it's like
Ranta,
Kiviranta, and Rantanen is the final
Rantanen.
form, right? So
Yes.
they just need to acquire anti-Ranta and they will have all three. Gotta catch them all. Anyways, so
That's
Ted,
so funny.
you said you had
Yes.
something to tell me about the goaltending. What's going on over there?
So we know that in Avs world, we know that Frankie is kind of an injury-prone guy, and he's our go-to backup goalie. Like, I love Frankie. Georgie and Frankie is a tandem. That is a tandem I love. It's great. But Frankie is like a question for this year already. Like, Bednar has been talking about it. We don't know if he's going to play much. We're going to lean on Georgie a lot, but our likely backup is going to be Annunen, is going to be our go-to while Frankie's working out whatever injury he's dealing with there. And I
How
don't
do
know.
you feel about that? How does that make you feel, Ted?
I don't like it, because that's not a team that can, to me, unless Georgie can play. I don't know. I guess all they got to do is get into the playoffs, I guess, is the thing. We may not rank high up there. We may not win a division or anything like that, but we just got to get in, because then I think Georgie can carry us through the playoffs, but not if we wear him out the whole season playing just him.
60,
so we're gonna have
whatever game, 65 games he played last year, something stupid.
Yeah, exactly. So my guess for this year was 59. I think he'll play, and we'll see a mix of Frankie and Annunen in the rest. Frankie when he's healthy, which is not going to be very very much, and Annunen. So I don't know. I don't really like Annunen. He's not my favorite, but against the Wild, he did okay.
Yeah,
in preseason, the Wild half squad, of course, not the real Wild, the preseason Wild. He looked all right. He moved pretty well in the net. He's a big guy. All our backup goalies are big. Arvid Holm is like 6'5" and like 220 or something, like huge. Like these goalies just cover the net. They don't really have to do much back there, but when they're that big. But literally, like all the Avs backup goalies are massive. We just draft huge goalies. They were talking about that in the broadcast a lot. Other than goalies, because that's something I think is that's our biggest question. That's going to be our biggest downfall. If there's one for the Avs this year, it's going to be goaltending. Not Georgie, but our backup. We're going to probably lose a lot of our backup games if it's not Frankie. Anyways,
do you think that they're the first team to claim a goalie off waivers?
Oh, it'd be yeah. I would like to see that. I'd like to see us get someone else in there.
There goes Martin Jones.
That's what I was just thinking. This is going to be the team that's going to have Martin Jones on their team.
I think that, yeah. I'd go with him for sure. Jack Johnson,
he's a guy.
Looked really good though, is what I wanted to mention too. Very quickly, he like had hands. It was crazy. He was dangling guys on, like standing still at the point, stepping around guys. He went in on like a one-on-one and dangled the guy. It was crazy. It was nuts. Jack Johnson, and then we got to see our projected third line, which is Miles Wood, Ross Colton, and Thomas Tatar. So those guys looked great. Ross Colton looked amazing. He looked great out there.
Yeah, of course.
I know, right? Like, I'm loving that that's our third line.
Yeah, I'm loving that they play in the West.
Yeah. That's my favorite part about Colorado.
That's funny.
Much.
Yeah. They're playing the Golden Knights right now as we record. End of the first. The Avs are up 2-1. We've got a goal from Ryan Johansson and Olofsson, who's got the other one. Assists from Byram and Drouin, which I love to see. That's great.
You know what? I just flipped a mental coin and I said, if the Leafs are winning, then I will talk about it. And if they're not, then we won't talk about it. And I'm not going to look. Not going to look. And then I went and I looked and they lost. So we're not going to talk about it. We'll talk about Leafs preseason next time. I'm pretty sure that's all we're going to wrap up with for here today. Unless you want to keep going about Thomas Tatar in the third line.
No, I love them. I'm super excited to see them with the full squad doing their third line thing.
Well, kids, let's get the heck out of here.
Yeah, let's go. All right. I'll give you, yeah. You want the music or the outro?
Yeah.
What do you want?
Give me the music.
Talking? Just the music.
All right, that's it. For this week's episode on Amherst Island Radio, 101.3, broadcasting from the Kingston Chumleys Tower of Power. CJAI.CA, 101.3 FM on your radio. See y'all next week on Amherst Island. Back on Thursday with a live stream on YouTube and Twitch at 9 p.m. Peace.
Peace.
See ya.
You've been listening to
Split the Defense.
where Jordan Webster, Ted Evans, and Craig Pearce talk about the NHL and all things hockey.
Split the Defense.
Can be found wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. It's also broadcasted on Amherst Island Radio, 101.3 FM, and online at CJAI.CA.